So we have now reached the table of questions in how to debate the so-called Salafiyyah. So let's start reviewing, inshallah ta'ala. Hopefully you can answer the questions. You had time to start reviewing. So here's the first question. Under the topic, the path of Ahlu-s-Sunnah and the obligation of following them. So question 1, to practice Islam properly, which group should be followed? Well, that's an easy answer. You just have a basic simple answer. That's easy. What's the answer to that? If someone came to you and said, Assalamu alaikum, or he might even say to you, because he needs to learn, Sa-alaikum. To practice Islam properly, which group should be followed? So what's your answer? Nobody wants to answer the question? That one's easy, Yani. Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. Hakadha, you're going to say to the person, Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. Or you might say to the person, the Sunni Muslims. Okay, we have a lot of hadiths there. The proofs for there. Let's take a quick look there at the proofs. So here's the hadith. Hadith narrated by Abu Dawood and others. وَإِنَّ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةَ سَتَفْتَرِقُ عَلَى 73 فِرْقَةٍ كلها في النار إلا واحدة. Surely this nation will divide into 73 factions or sects. All of them will be in hell except one. Okay, that's hadith, has many versions. So who's the one? In some versions he said, Al-Jama'ah. So that's Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. We're summarizing here. Jama'ah here means Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. And khalas. Now we already crushed our opponent. We finished the book and we got to the question. So now we're just saying it as it is, simple and plain. So Jama'ah in this hadith means Ahlu-s-Sunnati wal-Jama'ah. And in another version he said, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالسَّوَادِ الْأَعْظَمِ. Adhere to the vast majority. That's Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. So, if you want to give this hadith, فَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ اخْتِلَافًا فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالسَّوَادِ الْأَعْظَمِ. When you see dissension amongst yourselves, then adhere to the vast majority. If you wanted to give that hadith, then that means you need to be prepared to explain how Ahlu-s-Sunnah is the majority of the nation. But you're going to have to explain that anyway, because this is the meaning of Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. Ahlu-s-Sunnah means the people of the Sunnah. The Sunnah is the prophetic way. This means the people who imitate Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam in his convictions and in his practice of religion. Most importantly in his convictions though. Most significantly means in his convictions. Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, and the Jama'ah, that means the majority. So if you want to give them the hadith we just said, Sometimes I'm in a rush. I forget some things. So if you want to give them the hadith we just said, then you're going to say the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that group is the jama'ah, and that means Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal jama'ah, or Ahli-sunnati wal jama'ah. Or you have another hadith, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالسَّوَادِ الْأَعْظَمِ, adhere to the vast majority. Who narrated that hadith? Ibn Majah. Then you're going to refute the Wahhabis from the perspective of them being a minority, which is a fact. Yani, Wahhabis are fewer than Shiites, so don't be deluded about that. For sure, Shiites are not the majority of Muslims or whoever is affiliated with Islam. Wahhabis are not more than Shiites, so don't think there's so many Wahhabis. And then we have several other versions of the hadith that mention the vast majority. Also, you have this version of the hadith. Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi. That group that's upon what I and my companions are upon. That means Ahlu-s-Sunnah, the people of the Sunnah. They are upon what I and my companions are upon. They are upon the Sunnah. So that's Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal jama'ah. Okay. The Wahhabi attempt to discredit the nation at large. Question 2. Do the Wahhabis agree that they are a minority in the nation? Yes. Can't deny it. Undeniable fact. If you ever met a Wahhabi who disagrees that his group is a minority in the nation, he's ignorant. Or, as they say, he's a gaslighter. Yani, he wants to deceive you. How would a Wahhabi argue that the majority is misguided? Good question. Anyone know? Do you know a proof that a Wahhabi would give to say that the majority is misguided? Or even an argument, yani, a claim, an argument from a Wahhabi that the majority is misguided, or a reference according to him that the majority of the nation is misguided. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. He said that we worship graves. Yes. For example, I was looking for something like that. For example, the Wahhabis will say, yes, don't you know the nation at large, they are grave worshippers. The nation sunk into shirk. Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, he came and revived the Tawheed. So they do believe that the nation at large are mushriks, are misguided, that is. And as for some references they give, like here, let's see what some of those. So, for example, he would give you the ayah, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Few of my slaves are especially appreciative. So according to him, means the majority are misguided. Doesn't even mean that, though. That's how Wahhabi sees the world, through broken glasses. According to a Wahhabi understanding, his broken filter, these words, only few of my slaves are especially appreciative, that means in a Wahhabi brain, most of the people are misguided. It doesn't mean that. So that's not a proof that the majority of the nation is misguided. And there is the hadith, An-nasu ka'ibili mi'ah. The people are like 100 camels. لا تكاد تجد فيها راحلة. You wouldn't be about to find a suitable ride. Out of 100 camels, you could hardly find a suitable ride. That doesn't mean that all or most of the Muslims are misguided. So don't let a Wahhabi deceive you. Yani, you should be accustomed to the way a Wahhabi analyzes things. He has broken reasoning. Question 4. How is the nation at large not misguided if they are in such a poor situation? The simple answer is their poor situation is being ignorant and being sinful. Not being misguided, though. As far as believing in Allah and believing in His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and believing that Islam is the right religion, the Muslims at large are guided. They have right aqidah. But their knowledge is lacking to a critical degree. And their implementation of the religion is also lacking to a critical degree. This is not the meaning of being dal. We talk about somebody being dal, misguided. We talk about he has wrong aqidah. Don't forget the difference between the Sunni and the mubtadi' in hell. The difference between a Sunni who's in hell and a mubtadi', an innovator or heretic who's in hell. What's the difference? The difference is that the Sunni is not there for his aqidah. Sunni would be there for his behavior. And furthermore, maybe Allah will not punish him for his behavior. But the one who has corrupted aqidah, Allah will punish him. That's the meaning of the hadith. كلها في النار إلا واحدة. All of the groups are in hell but one. Why? What's the difference between that one and those others? The difference is the aqidah. All of the groups are in hell but one means because of their aqidah. And one is not in hell because of its aqidah. That one's going to go to paradise. But some of the individuals in that one, they would be punished for their bad behavior. So the Muslims at large, the nation is not dal, it's not misguided. It's ignorant and sinful. Question 5. What if the Wahhabi asks for a different hadith to prove that the nation will not go astray? So here we don't even have the hadith, we just have the list of questions. Which hadith he's asking for a different one. Now, I'm not going to go back and look at it because there's a lesson here anyway. Because it doesn't matter. Anytime you give somebody a proof and he asks you for a different proof, you don't give him a different proof. You stick to the proof you gave him in the first place. That's it. Don't move. Don't budge from your proof. You don't have to show him that you know so many proofs. You don't have to tell him there's so many proofs against you. That's why you're so wrong. I'll tell you all the 15 proofs against you to show you how wrong you are. You give him one strong proof. And you do like ping pong. You know how to play ping pong or tennis. So when your opponent hits the ball to you, do you throw your racket away and get a new one so you can hit it back? And then before the ball comes back, you throw that racket away and get a new one so you can hit it back? Or you keep the same racket in your hand, you keep hitting that ball back with the same racket? That racket that you keep in your hand, that's your one proof. You give someone the proof, and then when he tries to get around your proof, you put that proof right there. Nope, but the proof says this. Same one. Don't give him a different one. He tries another way, say, still though, you didn't answer that proof here. So he said, do you have another proof? Yes, but I'm not going to give it to you. What's your answer for this one? Once I debated with a person about the woman is not obligated to cover her face. That's a consensus. He said it's not a consensus. I said it is a consensus. So we debated about the issue. He claims to be a Shafi'i also. So I gave him the hadith of the lady from Khaf'amiyah. The Khaf'amiyah lady. The tribe of Khaf'am. The one who asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a question, and the Prophet's cousin was riding behind him. And he looked at that woman and she was beautiful, and she looked at him, he was fine. And then the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam pushed his face away from her. So there's evidence in this hadith that the women don't have to cover their faces. Anyway, so that was my proof, this hadith. And he was trying, and he was trying. And I was shutting him down. I claim, I was shutting him down always with this one hadith. Until he said to me, do you have another proof? Now, maybe from his perspective, he's saying, look, we're not getting anywhere here. And this is not a proof. Do you have another proof? Maybe that's his perspective. But my perspective is that I'm answering him by the same hadith and not changing. And then he said to me, do you have another proof? I told him, I'm not going to give it to you. Just this one. So he said, all right, fine then. So he stopped talking to me. That's it. End of the discussion. Then after he stopped, after some time passed, then I said to him, then there's also this hadith. When I gave him the second hadith, opened the door all over again. And what did he say when I gave him the second hadith? He said, thank you. And then opened the door all over again. Opened the debate wide open again. So that was a lesson for me. To stick to the proof. And then that's it. Don't even after he stopped talking, don't give him another proof too. That's it. Question 6. How do they claim to be Ahlu-s-Sunnah, though they do not fit its description? Good question. How do they claim to be Ahlu-s-Sunnah without fitting its description? Let's see what we have for an answer there. They distort the meaning of Jama'ah. I didn't remember the answer to the question. It's because of how they explain Jama'ah. They say, we are Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Salafis. You tell them, how could you be Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and you are fewer than Shiites? They would say Jama'ah doesn't mean majority. So they distort the meaning of Jama'ah to say that they are Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So you should know that the deviant groups, there's two parties of deviant groups. One party of deviant groups, they go by some name. Not Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They don't call themselves that. Like, don't think that all the different groups are like Wahhabis. They want to say, no, we're the Sunnis. It's not the case. Most of those groups didn't say, we are Sunnis. They said, maybe, I don't know if they gave themselves names, but they had names. And they didn't call themselves the Sunnis. But sometimes, some people claim that they are the Sunnis. Like, that's the case of Wahhabis, so-called Salafis. They say, we are Ahlu-s-Sunnah. But, I don't think I ever heard a Wahhabi say, I'm a Sunni Muslim. I think they avoid that. They don't like that. I think they can't tolerate that. They would say, we are Ahlu-s-Sunnah, but I don't get the impression that they accept to say, we're Sunni Muslims. Because they're not anyway. They're not Sunni Muslims. Ahlu-s-Sunnah are the Sunni Muslims. So what we have here, they may produce what the Prophet ﷺ said about Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail. Ya'ti ummatan wahda. He will come on Judgment Day as a nation of his own. Who was he? He was a man who realized the exaltation of God without the message of a prophet. So he was not an idol worshiper, but without the message of a prophet. By the way, what do you call someone like that? If he never got the message of a prophet, but he does believe in Tawheed actually, meaning he says, God is not like anything. I cannot conceive the reality of God. And he believes in Tawheed actually, but he doesn't have the message of a prophet. What do you call this one? You call him Muwahhid. Muwahhid is monotheist. Not Muslim though. It's not Muslim. Because you have to believe in Allah and His Messenger to be a Muslim. And to be a mu'min too. You have to believe in Allah and His Messenger to be a mu'min. Not just believe in the exaltation of God only. Allah says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. Merely the believers, the mu'minun, are those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and they have no doubt. So you have to believe in the Messenger to be a mu'min and a Muslim. But if you just believe in the oneness of God, you'd be a muwahhid. And believing that God is a body is not tawheed, that's shirk. Christians are not monotheistic religion, and Jews are not monotheistic religion. It's not monotheism to say God is one body. That's shirk. That's not monotheism. And also, Wahhabi might give you this ayah. Inna Ibrahim kana ummah. Surely Abraham was an ummah. Why? What's the point behind saying Abraham was an ummah and saying that this man, Zayd ibn Amr, he will come on Judgment Day as an ummah? Because they want to say to you, we are Ahlu-s-Sunnah wal Jama'ah without being the majority. Okay. Let's go back to the questions here. Question. Now we're talking about madhabs here. What is the correct position concerning following a school? Okay. Answer for that is that that's correct. And that's actually obligatory for anyone who's not a mujtahid. We're talking here about school of law, madhab. When we say madhab here, we're talking about the known madhahib. But you know, madhab has broad meaning. So when I say to you madhab, something might come to your mind. Like school of Shafi'i, school of Abu Hanifa, etc. But a madhab is a school, not a building. Not school means building. School means like a party. Like, for example, Democrats, that's a madhab. Republican, that's a madhab. And there's all sorts of madhabs in different things. There's madhabs in philosophy, madhabs in politics, madhabs in every field, madhabs in grammar. I'm sure there's madhabs in math, though I'm not good in math. They probably, everything else has madhabs, they probably have madhabs too. So, madhab has broad meaning, but when we say madhab here, we're talking about what comes to your mind first. Like following any of the four schools. In this time we live in, there's four schools available. What's the judgment of following those four schools? Obligatory for someone who is not a mujtahid. Those four schools are any school. Those four schools are any school. Anyone who's not a mujtahid, it's obligatory on him to follow a school in a case. He doesn't have to follow one school in all cases. He's not obligated to stick to one madhab. And one is allowed to take another saying just because it's easier. That's not haram. So that's the answer to the question. Following, what is the correct position of following a school? The answer is, actually it's obligatory if you're not a mujtahid. So you might ask, well, what if you are a mujtahid? Why does a mujtahid have a different judgment? Because mujtahid is not allowed to follow another mujtahid. So mujtahid takes his own ijtihad. So then you might ask, so the mujtahid doesn't have to follow any scholars? No, he does. Which scholars the mujtahid has to follow? He has to follow the consensus. That means he has to follow all the scholars. And what all the scholars agreed to, that's what he has to follow. The mujtahid. Question 8. What if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation or shirk? What if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation? We will say that's untrue. So sometimes if someone asks a question, the answer might be yes or no. So you want to answer yes or no. And sometimes a person would make a claim. So you might say true or untrue, true or false. You might say that's true, or you'd say that's false. What if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation or shirk? I'd say that's false. That's untrue. So then, what would he say? What if he says, it is true? I'd say, no, it's not true. So what if he said, yes, it is true? I'd say, no, it's not true. That's what I would do. Somebody else might do something different, though. So what if he says, what's your proof that it's not true? Then I have options here. Because I could just give him my proof. So I'll start giving him my proof. Because I did make a claim by saying it's not true. I responded by giving a claim. Untrue. But another option is for me to say, you're the first one who made a claim and you don't even have any evidence. Why should I prove to you that my claim is correct? My claim that what you're saying is untrue is correct. Why should I prove that to you? When you are the one who made a claim first and didn't give your evidence. You want me to give you my evidence for why your claim is false, and you never even gave evidence for why your claim is true. Although you started. Why should I be the one who starts giving the evidence when you're the one who started the claim in the first place? You opened the topic. So that's also something I might do. That's option there. So what if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation or shirk? So now let's say I took the second way. That's easy. The second way means I'm going to say to him, basically, you started, so you answer first. If I start something, then I'll answer first. Since you started, then you answer first. You don't even have any evidence, I'd say to him. And then now it's on him if he wants to have a discussion with me, because I don't have to talk to him. So I can just say, listen, I'm not going to even answer you. You're the one who started. You want to have a conversation with me, then you bring your proof. So then if he wants to not give me his proof, I'll say, okay, I'm not going to have a discussion with you. So if he wants to give me his proof, then here it's very easy, because no matter what he says, I'm going to tell him it's not proof. But It's because, yani, it's not out of being stubborn here. That's not out of being stubborn that no matter what he says, I'm going to tell him it's not proof. It means really, because I know no matter what he says it's not proof, then no matter what he says, I'm going to just pull it apart. So then when he says, well, this is my proof, I'll say that's not proof because such and such. Not just it's not proof only. I'm not going to be stubborn like this. Say that's not proof because such and such. Or I'll lead him into it. I'll say that's not proof. So if he says why, then I'll say because of such and such. I might say to him, that's not proof. And he says, yes, it is. So if I say, no, it's not, he says, yes, it is. Then I know he doesn't want to go further, actually. That to me means he knows it's not proof. I had a discussion with a brother lately. And I told him, you're wrong here, brother. So he claimed he didn't see how he's wrong. So anyway, long story short, he said to me, if I were manipulating, then there would be something I'm looking for. And I'm not looking for anything. So I said to him, you are looking for something. So he said to me, no, I'm not looking for anything. I said, you are looking for something. Why he never said to me, what? What am I looking for? Tell me. Because he didn't want that answer. That's why. He didn't want that answer. So I had the choice. I could have said to him, no, what you're looking for is such and such. Or I can make him, yani, I can lead him there. So I said to him, no, you are looking for something. But he doesn't want me to tell him what he's looking for. He doesn't want me to tell him what he's looking for. So all he's going to do is deny it and not ask me what it is. So that's why I just kept repeating with him. He said, no, I'm not. I said, yes, you are. He said, no, I'm not. I said, yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. But he wouldn't say, what is it then? He didn't want to challenge me there. So that's how you can do it for a person. It means you just first contradict them. Don't, you would have an answer, but don't just give them the answer right away sometimes. What you do is just contradict them first. When he says something, you say, no, you're wrong, for example. Or, no, that's incorrect. You could keep going and say because, but if you want, hold it. And then you'll see how honest he is. Where is he? Where's his mind at? Because if he says, how is it wrong? That means he wants to understand maybe. Maybe he's really being honest here. So he might say, how is it wrong? So then you say, it's okay, that's a good question. It's wrong because, and you explain to him. But if you told him, no, that's wrong, he says, no, it's not. You say, yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I don't think this guy really wants to get somewhere with me. So what's our question here? What if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation or shirk? So that's one way to go for this, a question like this. Another way to go is to debunk the claim. Tell them that's not true. Because the Sahaba had madhabs. You might say, what's your proof the Sahaba had madhabs? You can expect that. That's why, remember, pivotal principle in debate. If you make a claim, then you have to give the proof. Or at least, let's say it this way. If you make a claim, not that you have to give the proof. If you make the claim, then your opponent has the right to ask you for your proof. Okay? So that's why when you're debating with someone, you be mindful about making a claim. So you could just say, for example, the Sahaba, they followed madhabs. So you might say, what's your proof the Sahaba had madhabs? So we have some references here. Let's take a look there. Bismillah. I might be jumping ahead a little bit here. Yeah, here's question 9. I did jump ahead. Did the Prophet and his companions follow schools? Yes. Here's a reference for you. Imam al-Iraqi said in his millennial poem, line number 794. Line 794. وهو وزيد وابن عباس لهم في الفقه أتباع يرون قولهم. He, that's Ibn Mas'ud, Zayd and Ibn Abbas had in fiqh followers who used to take their sayings. That's following a madhab right there. And he quotes Ibn al-Madini as having said, كان لكل رجل منهم أصحاب يقومون بقوله ويفتون الناس. Each one of those men had followers who implemented their sayings and answered the people accordingly. That means Ibn Abbas had people who learned from him, took his answers, and if someone would ask, they would say, Ibn Abbas said, Ibn Abbas said. Or Zayd had people who learned from them, and if they gave people answers, they would say Zayd said, according to Zayd, according to Zayd. That's from the Sahaba. So they did have madhabs indeed. It's just that their madhabs weren't organized like the madhabs became. All right, so, and there's other proof for following a school, like that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Al-Yaman, and he said, how will you rule? He said, by the book of Allah. The Prophet said, if you don't find the answer there, he said, then by the sunnah of the messenger of Allah. The Prophet said, and if you don't find the answer there, he said, then I will make ijtihad to the best of my ability. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam hit him on the chest, and he said, praise be to Allah who enabled the messenger of Allah to do what pleases the messenger of Allah. So the Prophet approved of his madhab. The Prophet approved of his madhab right there. Because he said, I'm going to give ijtihad to the best of my ability. So it means that people are going to take his answers. Now here about the shirk part though. So it's not innovation and it's not shirk. That's for sure. The following a madhab is not innovation and it's not shirk. But where would he get the shirk part from? What's that all about? There's the ayah, if you remember. The Wahhabis would say, this ayah, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. They took their rabbis and monks as lords instead of Allah. So they say, that's what you do, you madhabis. This is your case here. They took their rabbis and monks as lords instead of Allah. The answer is that no, we didn't. Those rabbis and monks were not mujtahids who were making ijtihads. It's different. You're mixing things. Those were people who were saying things were halal and haram from themselves. And the people following them believed in them like that. Like how people believe in the Pope, that he can make something lawful or unlawful, and it's from God. That's shirk. But that's not what the people who follow madhabs do. What the people who follow madhabs do is they take the verdict of qualified judges, basically. It's like taking the verdict of qualified judges. In fact, those are the top judge, mujtahid. Highest ranked judge you can get. This ayah about the monks is Surah Tawbah, ayah 31. طيب. So I didn't know really how this lesson's gonna go. This is the first time I did this here, so I'm just going with the flow here. So what's the answer to that? We just answered that. That's where they get the shirk part from. Saying that following a madhab is like doing what those Jews and Christians did with their rabbis and monks. Question 9. Did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions follow schools? Yes, we already proved that now. If not, then why should we? But they did, so we should. Question. Do you have evidence for following schools? We just gave some. Question. Who are the Ash'aris and Maturidis? The Ash'aris and the Maturidis. Easy answer. Those are two groups from Ahlu-s-Sunnah in creed. Those are madhabs in creed for the Sunni Muslims. So both of them are bona fide. Thumbs up. Question 12. If their belief is the same, then why have two different schools? And how could they both be one guided faction? Because they believe the same. That's why they're one guided faction. They believe the same. So, but if their belief is the same, then why have two different schools? Because they just say different words. Two systems under the same belief. That's summary of the issue there. So there's no problem. Question 13. Who are the Atharis? Okay. So there are three groups who use this name, Athari. Definitely correct usage for Athari is for a hadith scholar. That's definitely correct usage for Athari, a hadith scholar. The Wahhabis have a disguise. One of their disguises is that they are the Athari school of Aqidah. A third school in Aqidah besides the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. But all Ahlu-s-Sunnah. This disguise, these Wahhabis, they come, they have some glasses and big nose and a hat there. And they say, where are the Atharis? Have mustache under the nose. They say, where are the Atharis? And we are just like the Ash'aris and Maturidis, part of Ahlu-s-Sunnah. We're all Ahlu-s-Sunnah. It's just that we, the Atharis, our approach is to not make any ta'wil and to take the ayat and ahadith as they appear, without the delving into the rational arguments. So what does that mean? That means mushabbihah, likeners, God comparers, like Wahhabis. So those are not Atharis. Those are mushabbihah in disguise. So that's a second group that uses Athari. So one is a hadith scholar. That's correct usage. Two is the Wahhabis. That's one of their disguises. And then three, there's a group who are not Wahhabis. They say they are the Atharis. They say the Atharis are the true Sunnis from the Hanbali school. And these ones, they're not Wahhabis. They believe with right belief. But I haven't learned about them being a school, an independent school and creed in Ahlu-s-Sunnah. I asked about them. I never found that in any classical work, old work. Not that I'm the most read one. So I never found that. I asked about it. The answer I got is there is no group like that. I never saw it documented in any old books. In particular, what stands out to me is, as a reference, is Ithafu Sadatil Muttaqeen by Muhammad Murtada Zabidi, the explainer of Ihya Ulumuddin. he talks about the Ash'aris and the Maturidis in this book. He says Ahlu-s-Sunnah are Ash'aris and Maturidis. He says it over and over and over again. There's no mention there of any third group. Now, furthermore, my interactions with these ones who said they are this third group from Ahlu-s-Sunnah, they're not Wahhabis, I didn't find that they distinguished themselves by any issue other than saying that they don't choose any particular meaning for mutashabih ayat. They're saying these are not to be taken literally. That's correct. And they're saying we don't say what they mean in particular. That's fine method. No problem. And that's the only thing that I know about them from my interactions with them, and also from anything that I read from them or heard from them. So I don't know how that's an independent madhab, because the Ash'aris and Maturidis are saying that, some of them. And some of them say, we do give particular meanings sometimes. What we learned is the old scholars used to not do it a lot, but sometimes they did. They didn't used to give particular meanings to these mutashabih ayat a lot, but sometimes they did. And we have plenty of documentation for that from Ibn Abbas, from Imam Ahmad, from Al-Bukhari. So it cannot be said that this does not exist in Ahlu-s-Sunnah, giving particular explanations to mutashabih ayat. Cannot be denied. The Wahhabis are the deniers of that. And the later scholars, they had to give particular meanings to ambiguous ayat more because of the spread of misguidance and the lack of knowledge. But what about other topics in Aqidah? What about the case of Takween? And what about some other cases? Yani, we don't have to go far here. Some other cases that are some chapters or discussions in the science of Aqidah. So, from all that I know, from what I have learned, there's no third group of Sunnis in Aqidah. There's two, Ash'aris and Maturidis. Wallahu a'lam. Let's stop there. Any question?
Sheikh, I do have a question.
Yes.
What if somebody ask you that, if they said that, well, who's give them the authority, Ash'ari and Maturidis, that they are the ones that one should be followed, the Muslims should be followed?
Yes.
What the answer was that?
The answer to that would be, those two are those whom the scholars followed. So if anyone knows best who the top scholars are, it's going to be the other scholars. So when we found that all of the scholars, yani, that means like it's from their time on, like until today now, all of the scholars followed these two, that means that according to the people of knowledge, they are the imams. It's just like one person, he criticized Abu Zur'ah al-Iraqi. Abu Zur'ah al-Iraqi said about Ibn Taymiyyah, "Ilmuhu akbaru min aqlih." His knowledge surpasses his intelligence. So that person started talking about what knowledge is and what intelligence is, and etc. And he was talking a lot of fluff. I told him, it's enough for you that you think you know better about knowledge and comprehension than the scholars. Those are the scholars. So if anyone's going to know that those two were the top imams, it's going to be the other imams. So I'd say to that person, why did all the scholars follow them? Nobody forced them. Yeah, mashallah. You're welcome. Ameen wa iyyakum. It's just like, for example, Shafi'i. Okay, a Shafi'i, he's a mujtahid. No argument here. So, how did a Shafi'i maintain his position until now? We're over 1,000 years later. He still has top rank position. After centuries and centuries and centuries of very brilliant geniuses. So when the very brilliant geniuses over a span of 1,400 years are saying, that one, he's my imam, then that means he's the imam. He must have really, really been the imam. Since his time, they knew that they were on to something with that one Ash-Shafi'i, and they stuck with him until today. Even someone like Sheikh Abdullah will follow Ash-Shafi'i. طيب سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك